Let's see. Rick Perry will be announcing today that he's running for president. The headlines that you see, and I've already seen it flash across on Fox News, that Rick Perry lost so much credibility in the last race. Notice they didn't say that about Mitt Romney when he lost to McCain. They haven't said that about Hillary, that she's lost credibility. It's only Rick Perry. Rick Perry is the only candidate who's ever lost credibility. And look, I'm not trying to say that Rick Perry had a glorious campaign by any means. It was a bad campaign in 2011. Guess who also believes it was a bad campaign? Rick Perry. When I was able to meet with Perry after that campaign, I could tell that was bothering him, that the campaign, it left a bad taste in his mouth. I think that he looked at it as not only did he embarrass himself, his family, but he embarrassed a lot of other people who went all in on that campaign. Does Rick Perry have a shot in this primary? Yes, but a very, very small one. It is hard for me to discount Rick Perry. With the resume that Rick Perry has, with the way he can connect with voters, it's hard for me to dismiss Rick Perry. Yet a lot of people will. And it'll be mainly the major media that dismisses Rick Perry. And that'll have an influence on some of the voters. It always does. But if you look at Rick Perry's resume and you listen to the guy speak, tell me how he is not a top 5 candidate. Take the oops moment out. I know. God forbid we have a presidential candidate out there who ever makes a mistake while speaking in public. We wouldn't want that from a president now, would we? We demand all of our presidents be perfect speakers. Remember, isn't that what Barack Obama was supposed to be? Even though he doesn't know the difference between core and corpse. But he was supposed to be a perfect speaker. Rick Perry had his oops moment. And we're going to hold that against him? We're going to hold it against Rick Perry because he wasn't the perfect campaigner? That, to me, it seems so silly to say that one thing is going to disqualify Rick Perry. Now, if you don't like Rick Perry because of his stances on immigration, if you don't think that he's been hard enough on immigration, okay, valid. With his support of the Texas Dream Act, if you have a problem with Rick Perry on that, valid. Very valid concern. But you're going to dismiss him because he had an oops moment? Really? For the highest office in the land, for an office that we want to be filled by somebody who is competent and will help protect this country and bring this country back, we're going to dismiss somebody because they messed up in one debate. Huh. Okay. To me, that's so juvenile. But it will happen. Trust me. There will be people. That's the one thing they'll say, yeah, but remember, he had an oops moment. I mean, what do we think's going to happen when he gets in front of in front of Russia? He may have an oops moment then. Okay. The truth is, Rick Perry was not ready to run for president. He would have been ready to run for president in 2011 if he did not have back surgery. And if he wasn't loaded up on painkillers and everything else, things he admits, look, I was thrown off. For Rick Perry, his campaign, unfortunately this time, they have to be almost perfect. It's such a small window that they have. But there is a window there. In Iowa, in New Hampshire, it's all about retail politics. It's about shaking hands, kissing babies. And guess what? Rick Perry does really well. He likes to connect to people. He likes to do it, and he does it well. You put Rick Perry in a room, with Republican voters, not the liberals. But you put him in a room with Republican voters, they're going to like Rick Perry. They may not all walk away saying, man, I'm going to vote for that guy, but they're going to like Rick Perry. And that's huge. When you see people like Marco Rubio, who is basically ignoring Iowa right now, Ted Cruz, who not really gaining any momentum. He's raised a lot of money, but he hasn't really gained a lot of momentum. I still think there's a shot for Rick Perry. Now, the number one goal for Rick Perry, the first goal for Rick Perry, is that he has got to get polling numbers up. And he knows this. I'm not revealing secrets here. He has got to pull his polling numbers so he can get in the top 10 candidates. The first debate is what, in August? Fox News debate in August this year, right around the corner. Fox News is only going to allow the top 10 candidates into that debate. If you're not in that debate, I'm going to say right now you probably have no shot at the nomination. If you're not in the top 10 by the time Fox News holds their debate in August, you're not going to win. You can stick in the race, you're not going to win. And so if you're Rick Perry, that's what you have to do. You've got to get to 3% in the polls. That's really it. That's all you have to do. You have to get to 3 to 4%, maybe not even 4%. Maybe 3% gets you in. Rick Perry is polling at between, and I'm serious here, 1.5% and 2%. And depending on the poll you look at, he's either in 9th place, 10th place, or 11th, 12th place. So if you're Perry, all you have to do is get to 3%. Right now, and again, it depends on the poll you look at, Marco Rubio, Jeb Bush, Rand Paul are polling at 10% each. They're leading. If you're Rick Perry, you don't have to convince a lot of people. You just have to convince enough to go, you're my guy. You're who I want as the next president. So that's goal number one, and that's why Rick Perry has basically built a house in Iowa. I mean, he is in Iowa, if not every week, it sure seems like it. I mean, he has been in Iowa consistently, going to every town he can get to, go to every town hall meeting he can get to. So it's not going to be easy for Rick Perry, but dismissing Perry, to me, it's silliness to dismiss him just because of an oops moment. Now, Rick Perry will get a bounce today. I don't know how much. But he'll get a bounce. That could push him enough. But he's got to continue that. And he's got to get those people to go along with him in Iowa. If he can do that, if he can get into the Fox News debate, and he's actually been practicing his debating skills, if he can get into the debate, I'm going to say he still has a shot. He is my favorite of the lower tier candidates. He probably has the best shot of rising towards the top tier. That doesn't mean he's going to win. But I think people have to give him a shot. If voters are honest with themselves and can say, yeah, he had one bad debate, okay, whatever. We'll move on. We're adults. He had an oops moment. We're looking towards the new president of the United States, someone who's going to be commander-in-chief, someone who we want to be a reliable commander-in-chief, actually abide by the Constitution, protect this nation. We're going to forgive an oops moment from a few years back. We're going to forgive that as long as you can, sound knowledgeable on all the other issues. So, yeah, it's a small window for Perry, but I do think it's there. Tomorrow, your poll of the day question, we'll give you a little bit of a preview. Do you support Rick Perry? I know there are a lot of Cruz fans out there. What about you Perry supporters? Any Perry supporters out there? Love to hear from you. We'll be right back. Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO. 770-5790, toll free, 1-800-687-0790. Some of the headlines about Rick Perry today. Quote, a different Perry to make 2016 presidential bid official today. The Austin American-Statesman, a humbler Perry. Hopes 2016 bid goes better than first. The Texas Tribune, they've got a story out that he has to have a almost perfect campaign, and it's true. Former Texas Governor Rick Perry all but announced 2016 for president with the launch of a campaign website early Thursday, hours ahead of the formal announcement at a Dallas area airport. It'll actually be in Addison, is where Perry will be. He'll officially enter the race while standing on the tarmac, surrounded by military luminaries. He'll speak about the future, hoping to erase memories of the past. He hopes to show that other than the American flags behind him, everything is different from his previous run for president. Perry said in a recent interview, it's real different from last time. I'm a different candidate than I was 3.5 years ago. Dallas Morning News story. The question before him is whether it's too late. He faces competition from a pack of shiny new Republican candidates with strong credentials, stigma of a disastrous 2012 campaign, and an indictment alleging abuse of his office as governor. Well, look, even Democrats. There are enough Democrats who say that the indictment is just a political retribution. So I don't think many people are going to be holding that against him, at least in the Republican primary. Quote, the whole world has changed, said Larry Sabato, a political analyst, University of Virginia professor. In the last campaign, Perry was highly prominent, woefully weak field, but fumbled his way his advantages. He had a moment in the sun in 2012 that didn't last long, and it wasn't all that significant. Today, you have, quote, an embarrassment of riches that's a respectable presidential field, and Perry doesn't stand out that much in it. I think Perry does stand out. When you look at the candidates that are running, and again, voters are going to have to ask themselves whether they want a new candidate. Do they want a Rubio? Do they want a Cruz? Do they want a Scott Walker? And I think Scott Walker hurts Perry more than anyone. Or do they want someone with a long resume who has actually done something, who has that executive experience? If you're Rick Perry, you hate that Scott Walker is running. Because Scott Walker, he has that executive experience. He's defeated Democrats. So it's hard for Perry to make to say, hey, I'm the governor you need to look at. It'll be interesting to watch, I think, for Perry. Again, small window, but he has a shot.